Hello and welcome. Alan Plum here again with a little more from Shed Engineering. Now Dave suggested that now I've got the road system more or less working, perhaps I should spend a little bit more time with my trains. So here we are. I only have 2 locomotives, but trains it is. And by the way, Dave, I hope that knee is giving you a little bit less jip. So here we see the 2MT pulling up to take on water. Obviously, taking on water was an essential and vital part of everyday railway life. And considering how often a steam loco needed to take on water in real life, how often do we see a model loco ever stopping at a water crane or water tower? We all try our best to replicate the daily life of the railway, making it as realistic as possible. But the vital and essential task of taking on water is hardly ever shown. Well, at least I can't remember it being shown. But because it was such a vital part of railway life, what a shame and pity is not a bit more realistic than a loco just stopping alongside the water crane and then moving off again. Did you not like that? Not miraculously exciting, but surely it adds a little bit of something. Okay then, let's try and build a working water crane. This is a ratio plastic kit. You can see a picture up in the top corner. That gives you an idea of how small it is. But the main column of the water crane is going to be far too flimsy, so we need to drill up the centre of that to get a piece of wire in. So now that is rather fiddly, but it is possible to drill up the centre of that column, and here you can see that I've inserted a piece of, I think it's called piano wire, a very stiff springy type of wire. I then needed a base for the crane, so I used that round disc, drilled a hole in the centre, or nearly in the centre, and that became the base of the water crane. And then, as you can see, I've bent the piece of wire at right angles. I drilled a larger hole in the disc so the column would fit into it. Then found the position where the water crane would need to sit so it could reach across to the centre of the track. And here you can see the copper tubing coming down from the backboard and the yellow strimmer cord that is going to be pushing and pulling to operate the water crane. Now this is just a quick mock-up that I threw together in an hour or so to demonstrate how it operates. So there you can see quite a shallow bend using the copper pipe bent around some 180 degrees. That then goes inside a plastic tube. Now I did experiment with some curtain wire, and about 4 foot seems about the maximum length. This section I've got here, made up of copper and plastic tube, is almost 5 foot, but that's about the maximum. After that the strimmer wire is getting a lot of friction on it to slide backwards and forwards nicely. So the copper wire is then just pushed into some clear plastic tube, which is then running along the backboard. In the last video I explained that the operation of the short road section down the sidings would be done from a piece of aluminium tube. Well, obviously I needed to cut a slot in that. Well, I decided it's a lot easier to cut a slot in plastic tubing, and that's why I've experimented with this plastic tubing, simply cutting a slot in it with the Dremel cutter. Or a fine tooth modelling saw will do just as well. I then drilled 2 holes in the strimmer cord so that I could put 2 pins through, and that gives you a fixing onto your slider button. Obviously rather crude, but it actually works, and you can see that the 2 pins are going through the strimmer cord, through the slot in the plastic tube and into your slider button. Right, this is the slider control for the crane, and here we've got just a plastic tube. Now this is just a mock-up, so it's just temporarily put on the backboard, and that plastic tube is running along the back. It then turns into a thin copper tube, which is the copper brake pipe, and that goes round down towards the water crane, and there you can see the strimmer cord coming out of the copper tube. If we come back up to the slider bar, rather than having a solid metal tube, I decided that there's no reason why you can't have a plastic tube, which is very easy to cut. A couple of pins through the strimmer cord into a little bit of timber, and that becomes your slider backwards and forwards once you've cut a slot in it. So as you slide that along, it obviously pushes the strimmer cord along the plastic tubing. The reason I've used copper obviously is so that it is stiff and stops in place, again just as a demonstration. And that comes down sorry, I'm trying to film one-handed, so you'll have to excuse any shakiness. And now if I operate the so obviously as you push the slider button it pushes the strimmer cord and operates the crane. Not very pretty, but as I say, I threw that together in an hour and a half just to demonstrate how it would work. The wire from the crane obviously needs to be going through a thicker piece of timber to stop it bending over. But at the end of the day, when was the last time you saw a working water crane? So there we go. I think it would look far more impressive in 00 to be honest, but if I can do it in N-gauge I'm sure it can be done far better in 00. Many thanks to the flurry of new subscribers, that's very much appreciated, and obviously to all my existing ones, and also to the viewers who just watch and haven't got YouTube accounts. And just in case such viewers without accounts would like to comment or ask a question, I have a separate email address which I'll put in the descriptions box. If it's abused or spammed I can soon close it, but you're more than welcome to contact me there. I hope you found something of interest, and as always, many thanks for watching.